And due to the higher resolution of 20 megapixels of the Hero9, the GoPro now has become much more interesting also as a photo camera. More megapixels mean that the image should contain more details and could be cropped more in post without losing too much quality. This would of course be a great advantage. Is this really the case here? And how good are the Superphoto mode, the HDR mode or the night mode on the Hero9? Let's find out together in this video. Let's start by comparing a few shots in standard mode and pay special attention to the colors. With these first images, you can see that the images of the Hero9 and Hero8 look very similar. There are only minor differences in the colors of the pictures. The pictures of the Hero9 look a little bit brighter in most cases. Mostly the shadows are brightened. In addition, the colors have a little more saturation. The blue of the sky of the Hero9 images tends to be more teal. Especially in the magnification, you can see that the Hero9 images have more detail but also more digital sharpness. This means that the contrast at the edges is slightly increased. All in all, I like the pictures of the Hero9 a bit better. Now let's have a closer look at what the higher resolution of 20 megapixel brings. It should lead to more details and should be especially useful if you want to crop the image. And indeed, you can see these advantages very well in the magnification. The Hero8 image looks clearly softer and less detailed. However, in the magnification, you can also see the negative effects of the digital sharpness better if you look at this photo of the Hero9 for example. The forest looks more like a painting than a photo. The most important of all colors is certainly the color of the skin tones. And the skin tones of the Hero9 look very similar to the skin tones of the Hero8. Basically, the same applies here as before. The Hero9 image looks a bit more saturated and a bit sharper. Interesting is that in contrast to the video mode, the skin tones are not necessarily smoothed in the photo mode, so it is not necessarily used this kind of beauty filter as in video mode. Let's have a look at the Superphoto mode now. In this mode, the photo is automatically processed by the camera. According to GoPro, the photo is analyzed by the camera and the best possible processing is applied. That means HDR, tone mapping or noise reduction. Let's take a look at some examples. With these first examples, you can see what the Superphoto mode does in most cases. The photo gets much more clarity and looks much more dramatic. This is certainly the most important effect. I have the impression that the shadows in the picture are also brightened a bit and some saturation is added. If we compare the Superphoto images with the Superphoto mode of the Hero8, we see that the results here are very similar. However, the Hero9 images look a bit sharper and more detailed. The Superphoto mode on the Hero8 did not always work reliably. Some photos are clearly underexposed. As you can see here, the Superphoto mode does not always lead to the same result. Sometimes, depending on the situation, the camera creates a typical HDR image, but in my test shots this was rarely the case. And by the way, if you are new here, my name is Werner, I live in the Italian Alps and on this channel I do GoPro and filmmaking tutorials. Consider subscribing if you are interested in these topics. For current prices and offers for the Hero9, I've put some links in the video description. If you activate the HDR mode, several photos with different exposures will be overlaid. This increases the dynamic range of the photo. More details appear in the brighter and darker areas of the photo. It is problematic when the camera is moved while shooting. This can lead to an unattractive ghosting effect. Let's see if the HDR mode could be improved and if there are still ghosting effects with the Hero9. Let's compare a few normal HDR images first. During these shots I kept the camera steady. As you can see, especially the dark areas in the picture become much brighter with the HDR image. The result looks good overall, but sometimes it looks a bit artificial. If we compare the images with the Hero8 images, we see that the results are very similar. However, even the HDR mode on the Hero8 did not always work reliably and the images sometimes turned out very dark. Here I moved the camera during the HDR recording. Although you cannot see any ghosting effect, the pictures are very blurred, so in HDR mode you should still keep the camera as still as possible. Finally, I would like to compare a few photos with the night mode in low light conditions. Also in night mode, the pictures of the Hero 9 and the Hero 8 look very similar. White balance and colors are almost identical. There are hardly any differences. A few thoughts about this comparison. Overall, the photo mode on the Hero 9 has been improved. In standard mode, the photos are a bit brighter and due to the higher resolution, a bit more detailed, even if the difference is not as big as I might have expected. The results in Superphoto and HDR mode look very similar. However, the Hero 9 was much more reliable when using these modes. And that's it for today. Give me a like as feedback if the video was helpful or interesting for you. There will be a number of videos about the Hero 9, so stay tuned and see you next time.